Yo guys, Coach Theo here on Common Sense. Today is a very special day because it is the 9th of September, which is the 9th month of the year. But when you think of it, it's kind of strange because September, October, November, clearly by the sound of it, this should be 7, 8 and 9. Like, did they steal our calendar from us as well? Let me know down in the comments. But right now, it's the 9th of the 9th month, 2025. And 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 makes what? That's right, 9. And I just so happen to be a life path 9. If you aren't aware of life paths, basically they are to numerology what the star signs are to astrology. So I'm a Sagittarius, but also a life path 9. And I figured on a day like this, it could be fun to do a video generally about some wacky spiritual ideas I have, and also a little bit just about how I come up with theories, how I look for patterns and understandings and better knowledge of this, well, of myself and this universe, okay, on this 90-ass day that we have. And I'm gonna conclude by the end talking specifically about the number 9 a bit more. Basically, I was always, as long as I can remember, I was an atheist, okay? It's part of it is probably just being brought up in the most godless country that I know, Sweden. And I remember when I was told about like God and stuff, it just sounded like fairy tales, like why should I believe that? And when you have stuff with Santa Claus happening and stuff, and they told you he's real, and then you find out he isn't. Like, why would all of that you never see, why would any of that be true? Then also, I think if you have a tough life since early, it's hard to believe in a God. Me, having an autistic brother that was just born in a very obviously different way, and all the troubles that caused him, but all us others in the family, that just made it feel to me like, how can there possibly be a God? I was an atheist. Later on, just to be a bit intellectually honest, I called myself agnostic because I realized I don't have any proof outright for it. But basically, I was an atheist. I didn't really, I like kind of actively believed against God, right? Then I went through this transformational journey with the daily panic attacks that forced me to change. Basically, that's when I started believing in God. I didn't quite understand that that's what happened initially because it was so new to me. The concept of believing something like that was so new to me. But basically, when in between all these difficult panic attacks at home, suddenly there was a completely different voice speaking to me. It was my ego voice, but your ego voice consists of many, many different voices in the end. And the one that noticed that, hey, this is a completely different sounding voice right now, one that's actually loving and supportive as I'm going through this, because I guess with being completely unconscious about it, but I would beat myself up a lot all the time. And the one that noticed, the observer, that's what I refer to as the God within, that all-seeing consciousness within. And so since then, I've gradually learned more about everything, about myself and the world, developed everything that I'm into, but also my spiritual views. I've clarified, I've made it more definitive for myself, right? And so what happened for me was that I'd clearly been a very black and white thinking, like it's either this way or this way, and not being open-minded at all, like religious ideas. To me, it's all, if I hear someone talk about God or religion, my kind of baseline mindset is like, oh, these are all fairy tales. Oh, they're telling me about the fairy tales that they were told, and they for some reason just believed it because they were told about it. Like, I would never look for any sort of morale in a story, or if I could see whatever was said in like the Bible or anywhere else in a religion as some sort of metaphor or anything like that, right? In the same way, something like astrology or numerology or anything like that, I would immediately be just like, that's, I know the Swedish words better, like vidskiplighet, kvacksalveri, just bogus, bluffs. Basically, for people to make money, and everyone can use anything. Someone can call themselves a Christian or a Buddhist or a medium or whatever and scam you. But basically, what changed for me since it turned out I was wrong about so many things. Me, the hardcore atheist, starting to believe in God. What else was I wrong about? At the very least, be open-minded and consider everything that I hear about. Right? I will take it in and be like, huh. Like, just instead of deciding that this is bullshit, this is a fairy tale, like what if it was true? Can I see any truth to this? Can I compare? Now, Life Path 5 just wrote to me. Gonna call here in a bit. I have lots of 5s in my life. No, but yeah, basically ever since. So I started calling myself a Christian first because that's kind of what all I knew. I listened to Jesse Lee Peterson and his view on God and morals and that. It aligned so much with myself, and he was a Christian, so I call myself that. But I never really felt like I could just belong, because even though I want to be open-minded, it's not the same thing as just buying something at face value. And this is the thing I have to keep telling Christians, you know. It's like, yeah, even especially this year, I found even closer alignment with my personal spirituality, my belief in God, and the worldview that comes with that, and Christianity. But I cannot bring myself to just say that I am a Christian, because it's the honest view I have of things. Because this is the thing, lots of Christians want to make it up that, sorry, it's not going to be focused on Christian, but one quick point here. Christians and other followers of one particular thing, they often, you know, they have their reasons to believe that that's the one thing. But what they often say is also, when I try to be like, well, I kind of agree with you Christians about this, this and that, but I have this thing, or whatever the point would be, is like, oh, but you're making up your own God then. Jesus is what he was, not what you want to believe he is or something. But that's another thing. It's not like I'm making up something in my head that I think would seem nice. I'm always just comparing everything to the truth as I can see it. And when I see alignment, I will admit that. But when I don't see alignment, I cannot force it. So that's my thing with all the religions that I've said for a long time, that I see them all as different interpretations and paths to the one and only God within. I think that Christians believe in the same God as me, the Trinity. I align with that a lot. I don't remember the name of it now, but there is a certain Trinity within Buddhism as well, you know. And also, because I can, the thing for me is that I can see still, if you were brought up culturally with a religion, and you know, you want to have a community, and that I can see following a religion like that. Honestly, if there was a good Christian church I knew of closer to me, I would probably go there. But my point is that some Christians that don't get all upset about the Bible thumpers, as I would call them, certain, you know, disagreements on paper, I see that many Christians in the end like see me as like, yeah, we're men of God. I just happen to call myself a Christian and you don't, right? But yeah, basically, so I started being open to the Christianity, but I realized quite quickly this, that I just think that they are all different pathways to the same one and true God within. And that's why it gets messed up with all the religions at times too, because we're trying to put it down in writing for future generations, and then instead of the real actual thing, God, humans come with their little intellect and try to interpret things and being all like dogmatic, you know. That's why it so often doesn't work out. But so apart from the religions, I decided to do the same thing with anything like astrology, numerology. There's this thing called human design that I don't know so much about, and all these things. And you know what I've concluded? This universe, it's a universe of unity and duality at the same time. Meaning, you know, we're all one man, as the hippie would say. That you know, a lot in the Buddhism and stuff, lots of that kind of speak would be common too. I don't necessarily think that Christians talk in this way, but the way I see it, we're all children of God. It is the same Father, the observer within, right? But at the same time, there is a separation, because it just has to be in order to have this experience that we're having. While you and me come from the same source, God, it's the same source within. You are you and I am me. I have to have a limited consciousness to the individual Theo, and you have to have yours to yours. Sometimes though, when you're really detached from yourself, it's not like I can see into your mind and see things from you, but you can feel connected. Like you just so happen to be looking out at the world through this window, Theo in my case, right? But you really feel connected to everything else. But so I look for patterns. The way I see it, this universe, it's like a huge fractal. It's like patterns within patterns within patterns within patterns. And it's about finding balance within balance within balance within balance, right? So this is going to be big ideas like this, but I do the same thing when I try to figure out how just everything works. You know, like I know that I'm not God. I base, as all humans do, whatever we think, even if you read a book or you talk to a person, in the end, it's based off of you, what you conclude with. You can believe, it can make sense to you what you read in a book or what someone tells you, but it's somehow if you're actually looking for truth and not buying things that just say, oh, they told me, or it said so in the Bible, so I'll just believe it, if you're actually looking for the truth, it's always some kind of comparison to yourself. So that both means that only true knowledge is based off of experience, because everything else is an idea. Your experience is actually something you firsthand, as the word says, experienced, right? But so I know in the end, though, that this is how what I would call knowledge, the things I've actually experienced for myself. But I know also sometimes I can interpret my experience wrong, right? Point being is that I will always go around comparing what I think, what I believe, with things I see in the outside world. I will compare what I see externally to what's going on internally, and I will update my model for how I look at and understand myself and this universe, right? And so I look for patterns and how do you say that? Samband. Well, like connections, like things that are related to each other. If this, then this, you know. And so, for instance, with training, when I didn't know everything, first you just have to, I watch YouTube videos like everyone. You first just have to take in some things and kind of like, these things make sense to me, but I don't truly know yet. I have to put something down, like a training program, a diet plan, and just follow it. But then it's going to be me observing what's going on. And that makes me actually know what's going on. And I've always been looking for these patterns to make it easy for myself, both with my training and others. Like, what is the ratio, for instance, between this exercise and that exercise? Like an incline bench and a flat bench. Like, okay, typically you will have 80 to 90% on an incline bench compared to what you have on the flat. Just things to simplify, just rules to follow. Figuring out the code better and better. And so what I've concluded even more recently, when I was in what I call a high state, and I'm vibing very high, I talk about all these grand ideas that are extra clear to me at the time, because I'm on a very high frequency. As everything in this universe vibrates, even your emotional state. But let's not get too deep into that right now. Basically, I realized that anything that exists in this universe, there's something about it, if you understand what I mean. It says something. Nothing in this universe is by coincidence. If something happens to me right now, it was meant to be. It can be interpreted by looking at things and seeing common denominators. Like this thing, it always happens in connection to this. Or when this happens, it usually means this, You can learn to read the code better and better. And so just like anyone could abuse religion or a thing like astrology or numerology or whatever it is to sort of exploit you, what I've noticed is that, well, that's why I cannot be like, I'm just a Christian or a Buddhist or numerology is my thing. That's what I base everything off of, because the entire truth is never found in one thing, but the point is that there's always some truth to be found in it, And so, how I just learn things is, first, something will have to be an external thing. For like Christianity or numerology, it's not something I'm just born with some kind of idea within. I'm gonna get it from the outside. But then I can take in and listen to what I'm told. But now, to figure out the actual truth, I have to go around and comparing this to reality, right? So with a thing like, that's the thing with Buddhism and Christianity, for instance. This Trinity, right? The way I see it, this is my interpretation of the Trinity in Christianity, right? It's the Holy Spirit, that is what's going to flow through you. The perfect average when you align the truth, the Father, that all-seeing consciousness, with, in this case, Theos truth, the Son. When there's perfect alignment between the Father and the Son, the Holy Spirit can come through. You're not in denial of what you are, but you also don't let your fears and stuff get in the way. So there's a constriction that inhibits the flow, right? That's just one idea. That's hearing about the Trinity, going around thinking about it, coming up with what I see, this balance, this duality in the universe. There's always two poles and some kind of sweet spot in the middle, the third aspect, right? But then take a thing like numerology. I read some from the sites that you get when you Google, but I follow this guy called GG33, and I just heard him talk about all the numbers. So I was just getting into it, and I'm just taking it in. I'm not deciding that this guy, everything he says is the truth, but I'm also not deciding that, this is just a hoax. I will listen and compare what I've been told to reality. And so I have many ideas about the numbers now, but let's get to the numbers and the 9 at the end. Because what I started doing, instead of doing like a reading, like, we're gonna do a numerology reading, or like a tarot card reading, or a star sign reading, I just started doing readings on people, like on my clients. I will just take all the info I can find about them, like birthday, what is your life path number, what is your star sign, what is your name, you know. Of course, if we ask our parents, they'll have a rational reason for why we have our name. But I believe nothing is by coincidence, and nothing is like exactly what it seems like. It's not coincidence that you're named something, and it's not just because, oh, that's been in your family. It's like, then there's a reason you are born when you are being named the way you are. Everything about nothing is by chance, right? So for instance, with me, I'm Theodor, okay? It's a gift from God. And I found that that seems to be like sort of my role here, that I'm supposed to really give to other people. And it's a struggle I always have with finding the balance between giving to others because I want to, but not giving so much away that I deplete myself, and then there's nothing less left either for me or for the other people, right? So Theodor, that seems to align very well. With like, yeah, I'm called Theo, but my actual name, Theodor, is a gift from God. It's like, okay, I have to embrace that I'm actually more for other people than for myself, and just look for the balance in that. I'm a Sagittarius. Honestly, I've not been too into the astrology, but what I can see from Sagittarius I know in my life is a certain like pompous, large presence, at least among males. There's often something about the Sagittarius that can make someone go like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? Many, many friends of mine and clients actually, that there is a little pompous thing about them, that when you see what it is, they know we're just like that. No, we're just kind of grand people like this. But then you have the life path 9, all right? And the 9, when I learned from GG33, you know, the funny thing was that the 9 was the one he was very cryptic about, refused to say anything too specific, and most things he said were talking shit, you know, like we're addicts and simps, pretty much. But what the 9 stands for in numerology is endings and completion, right? Because the true real numbers are 1 through 9. You know, 0, that's not really a number, it's the absence of a number. And when you start over after 9, there's 10, you reduce everything to a single number in numerology. So 10, 1 plus 0 is 1. 11, 1 plus 1 is 2. Then there are some master numbers too, 11, 22, 33, but let's not get into that now. So with the numbers, you can start seeing is there any truth to this. The 9, it's connected to the endings and completion, for instance. Can I see that there's any connection to 9s and endings or finishing of things, coming full circle with things in my life? And another thing is just that when you want to explore this, for what you know about the numbers, you can just try to act accordingly and see how it works out for you. For instance, on a very 9-y day like this, it would make sense to finish something, put an end to something. It could either be a great day to, like if you have a project, you've been delaying finishing up, it's just okay, finish it today. It's a 9-day. It should work out well if numerology is true, right? And another thing could be, well, if you have a poor habit, let's say you watch porn, you know, well, put an end on it today. Something about the significance of it's a very ending day, 999. That should do something. But then, when it comes to, so with the 9s, since it was way less information to find, what I concluded is that the 9's mission seems to align quite a bit with this Theodor meaning, that it seems to be sort of a humanitarian life path, that you're supposed to help and lift others up, but that there's always this struggle with looking out for yourself at the same time. I won't take examples from other people, what I've seen it with other 9s, but I'll just give one example for myself, this that I was brought up with an autistic brother, right? And it's always, I've so often been put in this thing, you know, lots of people struggle with people pleasing, you know, feeling that they need to say yes or go along with things just to not be abandoned, not to be left out, right? And so you can struggle with that on small levels, but I've continuously in my life been put in these, like with an autistic brother, when it's like, oh yeah, okay, I know he's obviously different, it's most difficult for him in the end, so I feel bad about not just taking a bunch of shit, because I'm like selfish if I think of myself. And I have so many reoccurring things like this, so it seems to be a big mission for the 9, apart from the significance of endings and completion, which I also see it to mean as I'm the one completing the cycle of generational trauma. I'm the one that's going to fix the fucking pattern and turn a new leaf. with my ending, there will be turned a new leaf for the family, the way I see it. But yeah, what I see with other knights is this struggle to want to do well, be humanitarian, but always have to like have a very difficult balance with that sort of thing compared to looking out for yourself. And the lesson, of course, whether you're a life path 9 or not, mentioning that's the thing. If you want to be there for other people, that's great. If you are capable of taking some shit that you know that you don't really deserve for the benefit of others, that can be a strong trait too, but only as long as you're actually okay with it. If you do it with nothing in return, not only are you enabling someone then, you know, they're not using the great help you give them, but you're also going to just slowly chip away at yourself. And like I said earlier in the video, there'll be nothing left for you, and ultimately nothing left to give to others either. So if you are a giving humanitarian person, you have to learn to look out for and prioritize yourself also, finding the balance with that. But yeah, these are just, now I just shared some ideas, but I think I take other numbers into account. I do things on certain days based on the numbers sometimes. It's not coincidence that my coaching prices are the prices that they are, kind of odd looking numbers to the one that doesn't know, you know. But I'll say that I've done so many readings on people, clients and just friends, people around me recently, and so often you don't have to try to see how it fits with who they are. I did in a video on a live stream, Ayub Sahiri, I think the name was of the guy. You know, I'll just assume that these names in the Arab world, that I'm not outing anyone very personally just by bringing it up like that. I think Ayub meant return to God, and this was from someone struggling with video game addiction. And I think Sahiri spoke a lot to the apparent part of the world, just what you can see, very little about the esoteric, the mystic. So I concluded that, well, you know, that there is some kind of calling for you to return to God, but there's also an aspect that kind of speaks to, like, that you are just playing around with the physical world, like something apparent, like the video game. There's really no spirituality in the video. That seems to be something for you as well. Just as a quick example. But so do this little, I'll say the last thing, human design. It's based off of your birth chart somehow. Never looked in much to it, but I know that I'm a generator and the strategy is to respond. And that's clearly something I can relate to. I've always been someone that more people reach out to and I respond. If you see my comments, if I'm in that mood, that period of the year, I'll respond to almost everything, whether positive or negative, right? So you can so often find some truth. That's the point with this video. I just want to share a sort of way of going about life where you're open-minded. You're not like naive, just believe into everything you're told, but you also don't reject it. You're actually looking for the truth. And I've just seen now, in all religions, all these things, whatever we call them, numerology, astrology, there's some some truth spliced in there. So, but you're gonna have to go confirm out. Don't just act as if what you were told or read is actually true. Take it in, go out and compare to reality, refine your systems and theories and models for how you look at the world and yourself. So do this little practice. Look at your name. What does it mean? You know, your birthday, like your numerology, your star sign, more that human design, whatever it is, you know, and start seeing all the meanings that you find there. What can you see immediately fits you? What can you maybe figure out what your challenge or what your path should be in life, you know? You'll find, in my humble opinion, that you can actually find out a lot about yourself from these things. Nothing is by coincidence. Guys, way longer video than I thought. But it's a random one-off video. It's not, I don't consider this as the typical structure. But it was fun to do. So please, I'd love to hear any thoughts you have, whether you're skeptical or on board, so to say. Yeah, like a comment. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching, you know, getting jacked and stacked mentally, physically, spiritually, working on ourselves, body, mind, and soul, becoming that individual, engineering that individual, the ultimate version of you. And some of these things talked about in this video can be a good way to figure out some of that. So if you're interested, you can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below. I'll get back to you with my different programs and offers. You've got my training book, everything training, philosophy, mindset related you need in order to become a self-reliant, jacked and stacked individual. Please subscribe for more content about fitness, fast losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys, an open mindset. Peace.